Welcome back to the VET S.O.S podcast brought to you by the Who You Know Network. We are proud members of the Parade Deck community. And as always, remember, don't drown to see a transition. Grab the VET S.O.S Lifeline. So happy to have Bill Kieffer joining us again today. This is his second time on the show coming on to tell us about his new book that he's written here lately to help you with this whole transition process. Bill's been working in the transition space for a little bit now and just has this heart for it and does amazing things for our community. So it's going to be a great conversation. Make sure you tune in and definitely make sure you check out the books because this is a different point of view that I promise you is going to be something that you want to check out. It's definitely going to be helpful. And plus, frankly, Bill, I just love talking with you. I mean, we had a blast at the MIC talking. And of course, we had a blast on the first time of the show. So this is just absolutely great. I was going to say as always, not as always, but I am here with Keith Cassant, the Band-Aid ripper of transition here. He's joining us again today while Eric is away. You have an awesome logo, dude. So how you doing today, Keith?
I am living the dream, Shawn. And once again, it's absolutely amazing to be here and greatly appreciate the opportunity to fill in for Eric. I'm just humbled as always. So this is a great program and happy to support.
Absolutely. And we love having you. And Keith has been on the show a couple of times, so he shouldn't be a stranger at all. You guys that watch the show on a regular basis, you know where his heart's at and you know what he loves to do, helping service members. So if you haven't followed him yet or reached out to him, I highly suggest you do. All right, so let's jump into it here. We got Bill. He's an Army veteran with 23 years professional HR experience. He's president and chief advisor of the Kieffer and Associates Limited, an advisory firm specializing in military veteran career transition, leadership coaching, strategic talent management, and professional speaking and facilitation services. In addition to that, Bill has authored his second book, Veteran Career Journey, More Insights from the Employer Side of the Desk. He serves as a coach and coach advisor board member for the Honor Foundation, master trainer for Ranger for Life's A More Elite Transition, member of the board of advisors for Law Enforcement Connect, TEDx speaker, certified coach via Marshall Goldsmith and the Y Institute, and much, much more. And much more. I'm telling you, Bill, it's so great to have you back on here. And you know what? As much as we talk, I forgot about the Y Institute. I sat down with you and we went through that whole process. Phenomenal way to look at that. And you talked about that on the first episode. So if people are interested in the Y Institute, check out Bill's first episode. It was outstanding. So, Bill, how you doing today, man?
Shawn, it's great to be back. Holy smoke. Keith, nice to meet you.
You as well.
Yeah, man, I got off 4 weeks of travel yesterday, and I leave again tomorrow. So got a great opportunity to get in here and spend a little time with you. And, maybe get a nap this afternoon. Yeah.
There you go. It's no rest for the weary, right? But the beauty of it is you're out there doing great things. It's not like you're just out there goofing around. I know where your heart's at and what you're doing. So real quick, because we talked about on the first episode, just give us a highlight of your transition and how that whole process worked.
Yeah, my transition stunk, man. It was horrible. I had a great career going. I was an Army logistics officer, got selected for promotion to 04, and then found out that I was getting divorced. So that was the first time my career journey and my life journey came to a crosswise. And I had to make some hard choices. And I walked away from the military on a promotion list. I had 3 then small kids. I thought, you know what, my kids, I think they need to know who their dad is. Turned out good. No felons. One's a 13 years Navy. He enlisted as a parachute rigger and did the Mustang program. So he's now an aviation maintenance officer. My daughter's a nurse. And then my next oldest son is an Army chaplain, currently with 4th Battalion, 1st Group out of JBLM. So my transition was hard. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't want to be in transition. I didn't know how to do it. I stumbled, quite frankly. And once I got my feet up underneath me and figured out, what I had to do, I wound up having a really, really successful career. So, transition, I like to say, kind of happened to me. Although factually I decided, I made the decision to leave. It kind of felt like it happened to me. And that's an important distinction when you're talking to folks in transition. If you make the choice and life is good, you know where you're going, your transition's a bit easier. If life kind of happens to you or the military decides you don't get to stay, that's a different kind of transition.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I love the fact that you hit on a few key elements there. Is one, you felt like it was happening to you, not that it was something you chose to do, because there's a lot of people that go through that, and we talk about it a lot on here, and we talk about it when we're talking with service members. Is you're not the only one. You're not alone in this, and you were able to turn it around, wind up having a successful career, um, and I I'm still laughing about the felon comment. Having an army chaplain is a good thing. There's no felonies. That's good. But it's just great to hear, and the fact that now you're still continuing to give back, which is absolutely wonderful.
I appreciate that. I learned a lot in the transition. And, while I was doing my HR work, I was a senior executive in Fortune 500 companies. I always, incidentally, people just kept coming up to me going, "Hey, man, you're a veteran. Can you help my nephew, my brother, my cousin, whatever? Because he's getting out and he doesn't know what to do." So I've been doing this informally for, the better part of 30 years. And it's a passion thing for me. I don't want anybody else to have to go through the transition I went through. I figured, you know what? Much like intelligence prep of the battlefield, I try to address this as intelligence preparation of the career battlefield to help folks that are facing transition or recently transitioned, or maybe have already transitioned and are stumbling, to get a better picture of what's going on in the world they're about to enter. You see, the subtitles on my books are insights from the employer side of the desk. As I've gone through this transition work, I found that employers, the ones with the jobs, are often not part of the conversation. Now, for those folks that don't want to work, they're going to straight up retire. No issue, no big deal. But most folks that transition out of the military take some kind of a job. Many take salaried professional jobs, and they enter that world with absolutely no idea, in too many cases, of what employers are looking for and what employers know and don't know. What are the norms and expectations? So that's the genesis, the basis, the center point, if you will, for both the first book and shameless plug. The second book, where to go? I got to figure out which way things go here. Veteran career journey, more insights from the employer side of the desk.
All right, perfect segue. So tell us about the book or books.
So my first book it's 151 separate insights. I designed it to be written as a hip pocket guide, so people can read small bursts of stuff while they're otherwise occupied. Okay, it's a bathroom book. Okay. So been well received in that regard, and it's really practical stuff about what's life like in the general business world. What's the culture like? What's networking really mean when you're engaging with people from the business world? What is transition? Because it's a world unto itself. It's not where you've been. It's not where you're going. It's that kind of swampy, crappy area between the two that you just have to, muscle through. It's got different people and tools and techniques and processes. I try to share a bunch of stuff about that in the book. And then the final section gives an overview of common hiring, selection, recruiting, and interview practices. So I had no intention of writing a second book. In 22, I got engaged with engaged with a retired Army Ranger first sergeant. Met him. He was a coaching client of mine. And he goes, "Dude, we got to write a book." I go, "Dude, I wrote a book. It's not as much fun as you think." And he goes, No. Your first book is about helping people get ready to transition. I said, "Okay." He goes, "I've landed 3 great jobs in my 2.5 years since I've been out, and none of them have fed the beast. We got to talk about what do you do once you land." I go, "Oh, shoot. I think we got to write that book." So we did. So we call it, again, shameless plug, aim that thing however we need to aim it. More veteran career journey, more insights from the employer side of the desk. The idea here is that transition is not a one and done thing. It's a first step on the rest of your career journey. So we address it with a couple of different thought models. The first one is we got to think about how you land, because you're no longer. We actually use the metaphor of a parachute jump, right? The getting prepared to jump and making the jump. That's the first book. Well, what do you do when you hit the LZ? That's the second book, okay? Because you're not jumping anymore. Now you're on the ground and you got to go do whatever it is your mission is to do, okay? You got to engage with those forces on the ground. You need to deal with the terrain that's out there and the weather characteristics and all that stuff, right? That's the approach we've kind of tried to take with this second book. So how do you land well? What are those first things you need to identify? The who's and the what's and who's who in the zoo and all that. And in your landing, the very first few days, it's just about identifying things. That's it. We then take a second section of the book about integrating well. How do you integrate well with the people and the processes and the tools and the techniques that exist around you, so you really learn about what they are, what they do, how they fit, and as important, what is it you're supposed to do and how do you fit inside of all of that? And the third section of the book is how do you thrive and survive in the long run? So you continue to add value to your life and your career, fulfilling your potential, going where you want to go, and continue to add value to the business. Okay, so that's kind of the structure of the book. We also introduce a people, process, product, and service model because, quite frankly, those are the three buckets of things that business leaders think about. They think about their people, they think about their product or service that they're offering to their customer base, and they think about the processes by which all that comes together to make good things happen. And we tie those two together in what I think are pretty interesting ways. While this has like another 100 or so insights, it's written a little bit different. It's more of a narrative. And in the book, we have over 60 stories that we've actually experienced to help make the insight learning point along the way. So I'm pretty happy with it. Well, actually, I'm ecstatic with it. It's a really nice next step to something I never intended to do.
That's awesome stuff. Like, I've been operating in the mentorship space for about 4 years, and we spend so much time on getting them ready to jump and then maybe making that jump. But statistics have shown, right? You're pretty much statistically guaranteed to not be in the same job within 2 years after separation.
Yes.
And then even beyond that, statistics show, you're likely to have like 4 to 6 or 3 to 5 jobs in 4 to 6 years. So, there is, we continue to navigate. Wow. Navigate. I swear it was just seltzer water I put in this thing. But anyway, navigating that transition space. And a lot of it's finding the passions too, right? Because you even alluded to that. Like, I've had 5 jobs since I retired 4.5 years ago, but each one was fine tuning that passion. And, I've literally landed my dream job now and I'm not going anywhere. But this sounds like an amazing book. I'm actually really interested in checking it out. So this is great stuff.
No, that's awesome. I appreciate that. We talk about things that are not common in the transition discussion because, I was in the employment space for 22 years. I wasn't just in the civilian world. My job was to look at talent and understand how talent, what's required in what numbers and types and how should it be arranged to go make the mission successful for whatever the business happens to be. So it's a different look than some folks that are kind of in the recruiting space in the transition space that happen to be recruiters or otherwise, because I tie in that what the hell does it take for an individual to be successful for the business. And then we also talk about what it takes to be successful for yourself, for your family, for your career. So your career, your job, and your life journeys don't get crosswise.
That's awesome. So first question that popped into my mind, because, with reading, is it a bathroom book? I'm not one of those guys that sits down and reads.
Depends on how long you're in the bathroom. None of the stories are super long.
Okay.
They tend to be, I don't know what you call them, like vignettes or something. Most of them are pretty quick reads. So, depending on your hygiene habits, maybe.
I think there's a couple books that I've seen come out dealing with transition, and all of them seem to be that type of book, short in nature as far as chapters and stuff, easily digestible bites. And I don't know if that speaks to our attention span as veterans, or if it's just the fact that we enjoy those kinds of things and it makes it easier to digest it that way. But I know personally, I appreciate those types of things because you can find 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, where you can just, digest a chapter real quick and take it in. So
Yeah, I think, most of society doesn't have quite the attention span it used to have. We all move pretty quick and we work in sound bites and all that. But I wrote this, the first book, the way I did, because I knew that the transition time is really difficult for a lot of folks. They're paying attention to exiting well from wherever they've been. They're paying attention on getting prepared for whatever the future might be. And there's a lot going on. And oftentimes, sitting down and reading a long narrative academic kind of thing just doesn't really work. The second book, shameless plug, third time, is written a little bit longer because while it's absolutely applicable to folks that are starting on the front end of a transition, it's really helpful for those that have already transitioned or have gotten an offer and they're going, oh shit, what do I do now? Okay. And they got a little bit more time. The rest of their life is probably a little bit more settled. They got a little bit more time. So instead of, reading for 60 to 90 seconds, they can maybe read, 2, 3, 4 minutes. None of these have to be, you don't have to sit down and block out an hour. So.
Yeah, no, and it's the ability to retain it in smaller chunks too, right? Because I think it's our attention spans are shorter, but it's also the retaining aspect, being able to internalize it and then apply it. And with that, if you don't mind, I'd love to ask, so without obviously giving away anything too much from the book, but can you give us a taste? Like what would be either the first thing? Because I love the analogy of, okay, you've jumped, you've landed, maybe collected up your chute. Like what's the first thing they should do, or maybe what's the biggest thing you see that we don't do or that we tend to neglect and then realize after the fact, oh crud, I didn't even think about that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think the best way to answer that is to say, in most cases, we don't think beyond the jump. I mean, before you land, you better have some idea what you're going to do on the LZ or on the objective and beyond, right?
Yeah.
So people get so caught up in leaving where they've been and getting ready for the jump, making, what kind of aircraft are we going on? What are the winds? Do I have the right equipment? We got to do a, last minute retraining and all that stuff. And okay, yep, here we go. Then they get on the LZ and they go, now what? That's not how we're trained. That's not our experience, right?
Yeah.
But in transition, there's nobody other than, fourth shameless plug, David and I, is going, okay, you've landed, now what? So I think the point is to have awareness not only of the culture difference and where the gap is and that more abstract esoteric stuff. It's how do I organize my mind to get ready for what's coming up? So we try to organize it by saying, first you got to land. And when you land, you got to identify things. Don't get fancy, just identify the who's and the what's. And then you've got to start to integrate. And what does that mean? It means learning about the people, the processes, the products and service. And over time, as you learn to thrive and survive, you then have to leverage everything you've learned for success for you and others. So I think my opinion is the value here is it gives people a way, not just to read what I think are cool stories, but to give them a way to organize their thoughts and efforts in a world that's really new and really different and really confusing. So that's what we were trying to achieve with this, give you some kind of way to look at things in an organized fashion. Say, okay, I don't have to do everything. Where do I start? Well, start with just identifying things and then learn about them. And well, what things? People, process, product, and service, because those are the three common buckets that business leaders tend to think about. So it gives you a structure, a mental structure on how to attack once you land. Before you land.
That's such a great point, though. I don't think I ever considered that when it came to what happens after I do the transition and I land. Now what do I do? I don't know that I ever even contemplated that. And over the last year, it's been like, you know, finding your way slowly and at times, you know, stumbling, falling, and all that other stuff. So that's, I don't know why. I just, the way you were explaining that this time, it finally sunk in. You know, it made it through the layers of bricks that, um, something that never once even contemplated myself, and that's huge. That really is. You know, to think about the stuff that happens and what's the next course of action, and do you just stand there holding your shoot in the middle of the field, you know, for the at the next hour? Or do you move out and seek cover? So man, no, I
I mean,
love
hell, do you go north, east, south, or west? I mean, which way do you even go? So,
Yeah. And I'm thinking of my own journey when I came out, because I love this analogy, right? So like my journey, I had a plan. I knew where I was going to go. As soon as I landed, I was going to collect. I knew where to take cover. But then while I was as I was falling, a gust of wind came and knocked me off course, and I ended up landing nowhere where I expected to. And
yeah,
I instantly found myself in unfamiliar territory, going, "Oh boy,
yeah,
now what?"
yeah,
So, I mean, this book sounds like an amazing resource. If that happens too, it's like, you know, some of us even come up with a plan, but, you know, as Mike Tyson loves to say, you know, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth, you know? So,
right, right.
yeah,
True,
yeah.
truer words have
Well,
never
with that
been
upcoming fight, we could go down a whole different direction, but I get
Oh,
your
right.
point. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, no,
so
this is great stuff.
based on what you just explained, Bill, and then Keith, what you just expanded on, I now have the third book because I know how much you enjoy writing. I'm a big fan. I grew up on the choose your own adventure books. So I think you need to do a choose your own adventure with this whole parachute idea. What, you get blown off course, then you have this adventure. And so you got a million different ways you can do a choose your own adventure with this.
So, Shawn, have you thought about being an author? Because I'm not averse to a third. You know, once I did one, I didn't want to do two. Now I've done two. It's like, hell yeah, let's do three. What's the good idea? You know?
So actually, I am working on a book right now,
You
which
too, huh? Wow.
yep. And I had my meeting with my editor yesterday, and she's like, 'cause I've been kind of stuck, and she's like, just enjoy it. I'm like, you know what? You're absolutely right. Is why am I writing this book if I'm not going to try to enjoy it a little bit, you know? And
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
it's because I don't want to be like at the end of it going, oh, that sucked. I don't ever want to do that again. You know, and maybe it's not for me, but you know, it's something to try and have fun with. And
Yeah. You know, the thing that's been the outgrowth for me from the second book is uh, Dave White and I founded Veteran Career Journey, a 501c3 based on, it's both books actually, but inspired by the second book first. And we actually have that up and running, veterancareerjourney.org. And the mission there is to help close that culture gap that stands between employers and veterans. And quite frankly, to help reduce the challenges, the employment, the money making kind of challenges that are contributing to veteran suicide. Through the course of writing, and since it's been published, we have lost buddies to suicide. We go, man, if they only knew this. So we're super passionate about that. Got a great board. And we came out of the gate strong. We founded in November last year. And by February, we were able to get over 700 copies of the books due to generous donations from others out to participants of the Honor Foundation. So our mission is to close the gap and prevent or reduce veteran suicide. But our method is to get books out in the hands of veterans via training that we will build based on those books. And our target, quite frankly, is the conventional forces. Honor Foundation and others do a great job for the special operations community. But I think there's a glaring need for transition support for the conventional forces that I think we can offer a unique value. So, yeah, there's it is right on the runner, veterancareerjourney.org. There you go.
Yeah. And that's amazing. Like, I love hearing about, so, you know, because I mean, wearing a shirt, wrong side, over here, right? Same thing with the book, trying to figure out which direction I'm going here. But anyway, you know, like, you know, yeah, I'm transparent about my past. And so as a veteran, as a suicide attempt survivor, even, I like, that's a very real thing. So I'm curious, out of my own personal interest, but even for our listeners, how do folks like support something like how, or not some, but how do they support the veteran career journey if they're interested?
Yeah. So honestly, the thing we need now is money. We need money to go make stuff happen. If you go to veterancareerjourney.org, we have it set up to take donations that way. Certainly, folks can get a hold of me directly. I serve as not only the founder, but the unpaid executive director. So I'm managing the business. When you start a nonprofit, the IRS is funky about actually being a nonprofit, which means board members can't, there's some self-interest clause in the law that, so I'm not on the board. I'm the founder and the executive director. I'm doing it as a volunteer thing. But they can get a hold of me and I can walk them right through the process. We have a pretty lofty goal for our first year. We're looking for $120,000 total in the first year to get books out and to get training based on those books, both live, where we go at or near an installation and we deliver classes based on the books and the content, and live online classes where people can dial in. So yeah, veterancareerjourney.org, or connect with me on LinkedIn is the best way. And I will, help who's ever interested to donate robustly and often.
I love that. Snuck that one in on me. Oh, So real quick, because we're getting down to time. It seems like today's just flying. Real quick, what's that training look like in your mind as you start to think about how you're going to roll this out? Is it something where they as part of the training, they get the books and you work out of the books, like a kind of a workbook type thing? What are you looking to do?
Yeah, so for the in-person classes, the live in-person classes, the idea is to have one day based on the first book, a second day based on the second book. And we're working right now to try and figure out how to do, once you register, get you a link to the Y operating system assessment. So we go, okay, because my belief is for successful transition, you first got to know who are you, what are you bringing to the party, and how you define success. So if we lead off with the Y assessment, I go, okay, this is, we do a feedback session and all that. And then we get into I would say the first day one class is book one. And we talk about the 5 chapters and throw in some stories and make it interactive and those kind of things. And then we'll have a second day session based on fifth plug, book 2. Similarly, we'll break it down by the 3 sections: landing, integrating, thriving, surviving. And the idea for me is for each of them to walk away with some kind of, at least a skeleton for an action plan going, not only did I hear it, but here's how I'm going to use it. The other interesting piece that we're focused on is for those that have spouses, inviting the spouses.
Nice.
Because transition's a team sport. Nobody does this successfully alone.
Yep.
And I think that's unique in the space. So the employer insight focus is unique, and the invitation of spouses is unique. For the online courses, as we grow those and develop, and those are in development, the idea here is to have like 4 or 5 1-hour segments. So nobody's going to sit through a half a day online training.
Yeah.
And we're still playing with the format of that. But,
all right.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely love it. Well, Keith, I'm going to turn it over to you to take us home, buddy. But man, Bill, great seeing you again and talking with you. Love what you're doing with this stuff, and can't wait to see what you actually can do here with the veteran career journey.
Thanks, Shawn.
Yeah, and just real quick, just one last time, get it up there. Let's see that last plug. I don't know if it's 5th or 6th, but let's see that book one more time, Bill.
This is number 6. There you go.
Number 6. There we go.
We queued him up, and he wasn't going to do it.
Right? Yeah. So no, everybody checked out. Bill, where can they do to get the book, and how can they get in touch with you?
Both books are on Amazon. Real easy. Just type in Bill Kieffer; they'll pop up, or you can type in the titles either way. And they're on paperback or in ebook.
Awesome. Well, everybody, be sure to look Bill up. Get those books; they sound amazing. I'm going to be doing the same. And as always, on behalf of the VET S.O.S family, I would like to thank everybody for joining us today. Please make sure to follow and subscribe to us on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms. And remember, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the VET S.O.S Lifeline.
you.